Sergei Pavlovich takes on Waldo Cortes-Acosta this Saturday as the featured fight of UFC Fight Night Shanghai's main card. And this is going to be an exciting fight. I think this one ends in a finish. Both these guys, throw hammers on the feet. I don't see this one going to a decision. I think one of these guys is going to get knocked out. So Sergei Pavlovich, 33. He's 6'3" with an 84-inch reach and 19-3 in his career. Very crisp boxing. Has tons of speed, a lot of power. Stinging jab that he was hurting Curtis Blades with in their fight. Kind of winging punches at times against Curtis Blade. They were getting into a kind of a more of a scrap firefight. But he is more of a technical guy. In that fight, he was really kind of throwing caution to the wind, I feel like, trying to get Curtis Blades out of there. But very much more composed, I would say, in his last fight against Rosenstrike, which went 3 rounds. He had a really good performance in that one. Couldn't get him out of there, but kind of negated everything. Was landing the better strikes. Just he feints very well with his hands and his shoulders, kind of keeping his opponents guessing. Very patient in his approach. Waits for his openings, and then really puts it on guys with a lot of power. He has 75% takedown defense. He will look for takedowns at times. He did against Jair Rosenstrike in their fight, just to kind of mix it up. He does come from a Greco-Roman wrestling background. Started, really young, wrestled into high school, and then really focused on the sambo and the boxing after that. So taking on Waldo Cortes-Acosta, who's 33 as well. He's 6'4", with a 78-inch reach and 14-1 in his career. So he'll be 1 inch taller. I don't believe he's 6'4". He looked like he was shorter than Spivak in their last fight. Spivak is 6'3", but gonna have a 78-inch reach, so he's gonna be at a 6-inch reach disadvantage against Sergei Pavlovich, which is gonna be pretty substantial because Pavlovich is a savage on the feet. So Acosta's a former baseball player and pro boxer. Only had like a 6-4 pro record, but he did have 6 KOs there. But athletic, very heavy leg kicks, decent power, good jab, kind of one and done punches at times. Doesn't really extend his combinations that much. Has a decent gas tank. He can push a high pace. He does have kind of a belly on him. He's a big dude. I wouldn't expect him to have as good of a gas tank as he does, but Jiu-Jitsu blue belt, 66% takedown defense. I just don't think there's just nothing special to him, in my opinion. I feel like he's had a lot of favorable matchups. Hasn't really fought the toughest competition in the world. 44-year-old Andrei Arlovsky, pro, straight kickboxer, rebels to spawn. Ryan Spann, who's 50-50 coming up in weight. Like the Sergey Spivak, that was a good fight. Very competitive though. Did lose to Marcos Rogério de Lima, who was able to kind of implement his grappling to go with his powerful striking to lose. So I'm just not very convinced by Acosta. I think he gets checked by Sergei Pavlovich, who is a legit heavyweight, who's very dangerous. And there's nothing that Acosta is going to bring to the table that I think is going to put him in danger or anything that he hasn't seen. He's got big overhand rights. He's got some decent punching power. He's not going to be wrestling with him. He's not going to be shooting takedowns the way that he did against Despaigne and get him. I just think Sergei Pavlovich is a much better complete heavyweight fighter. I think his speed and power will be too much for Waldo Cortes-Acosta. He's going to have that 6-inch reach advantage. He's got very long arms. He's very powerful. He's very fast for his frame and for the division. Fought and beat the better competition. He does have some KO losses on his record, but other than that, he's got good chin. I just think his style against Waldo Cortes-Acosta is going to be a bad matchup for Waldo, who, like I said, he's just kind of squeaked by lesser competition, doesn't have a lot of finishing potential. He finished Lucas Bursky, but he's getting finished a lot. The same with Ryan Spann. These are guys that are, usually getting finished in their fights, and, a lot of people have a lot of success against these guys. And Cortes-Acosta, he can be pushed back along the cage, and I just think his style and his skill set will be something that Pavlovich can figure out pretty easily. I don't think Pavlovich is going to need to worry about takedowns. I think Acosta is going to start to shoot him just to keep him guessing and keeping him on the back foot, but I don't think he's really going to be threatened by them or get taken down by any means. I think he can get his own if he wants to. Like we saw in that Jairzinho fight, he was getting takedowns just to mix it up, and with his sambo background and his physicality and strength, I think he can get him against Waldo Cortes-Acosta, who was getting taken down, like I said, by De Lima, who's a smaller guy. Smaller in stature, maybe not in terms of weight and sheer strength than Pavlovich, but I just see Pavlovich pushing forward, forcing Waldo to kind of panic throw on the back foot, cutting him off, teeing off with punches. like I said, there's nothing that Waldo Cortes-Acosta does that Sergey hasn't seen before. I feel like he's pretty one-dimensional with the boxing. He does have some decent leg kicks, but you can't hurt him with your leg kicks we've seen before. Sergey's just the bigger, stronger, better striker, more experience, better resume, and I think he can really dictate where this fight takes place, on the feet, in the clinch, on the ground. Costa can be taken down. He can be controlled in the clinch. We saw that against the DeLima and Spivak fights. So I think wherever this fight goes, Sergey is going to have the skill advantage, and I think he can get this one done. I think he can get a decision, but I really do think he can get his offense going on the feet and get the KO over Acosta. Thanks.